out of apartment 5B.
You're now tuned into the Apartment 5B podcast, where we chop it up about hip-hop, R&B, sports, love and life. Hosted by Kill.
What's good? You are to an Apartment 5B podcast hosted by your man, Kill. I got my squad with me, in effect, as always, co-host Porsche. What's good, babe?
Not a whole lot, Kill. Good to be here.
No doubt. My brother JR, the R&B guru, youngest in charge. What's going on?
What's going on? Good to be here.
All right, my man Rel, new album about to drop. You better kill that fucking beat, my guy.
What's good, man? Happy to be here as always.
No doubt. First time chopping up with us. Me and his brother have been talking on Twitter for years. My man Seb, what's going on, fam?
Peace. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, man, always. So you know me, let's jump right into it. One of my favorite albums that dropped last year was Nas' King Disease 3. And here's the funny thing about King Disease 3, and it's this my old man, get off my lawn moment, which here's the first thing about that. There's nothing wrong with telling people to get the fuck off your lawn, especially if you've invested in your lawn. Somewhere along the ways of life, we, like that's the bad thing, get off my lawn. No, get off my lawn, get off my car. Don't sit on my car. Like I spend good money on that car. It's like people try to make fun of you. Yeah, I am that dude because I paid good money for that. And it's just being like, I feel like we love on these albums for like a week and then they just disappear. Like King's Disease 3 dropped, everybody loved it. This is the greatest thing ever. Nas the GOAT, Hit Boy, this is the new Gang Star, this is everything. And then a week and a half later it's gone. You never hear about it again. One of the things I do hate about hip hop nowadays. But one of my favorite songs on the album was First Time. For people who haven't heard it, it's basically Nas saying, when's the first time you heard Nas? Nas has been around since 91 with Main Source, live from the barbecue. So everybody can have a different time when they first heard Nas. Mine was live at the barbecue. Somebody else's Illmatic. Somebody else's It Was Written. Somebody else was Life Is Good. So I thought that was a dope concept. So today we are chopping it up about when was the first time you heard some of your favorite hip hop and R&B artists, not necessarily your GOAT artists, but just your favorite artists. Because if you tune in with us enough, you 9 times out of 10 know who our GOAT artists are. And then we get bored over time to just keep hearing the first time Kill Her, Big, or Jay, or Rakim. So we try to switch it up to talk about your favorites. So maybe we throw some different names in the pot. Seb, it's your first time chopping it up with us, good brother. Who is one of the first artists that is one of your favorite people? Where did you hear them and what pulled you in to kind of let you know they was dope?
So, when you asked me that question, man, I was thinking about it and I was trying to differentiate between my favorite MCs. Like you said, your favorite MCs. But some of my favorite MCs, I don't remember where I was when I first heard certain heads. So I had to think about cats that I like, who are on my list.
Right.
Who I remember where I was. So I'm going to start off with kind of an obvious one, right? The Message, Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5. Right, that's I'm gonna start with that one because that one is ingrained in my mind, right? And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I was sitting at my grandmother's house. This is in France, right? I'm from France originally, so I'm sitting in my grandmother's house and I'm doing my homework. Little kid leaning up against the couch, got the TV on, but it's on mute. Got the radio on, and the Message came on. And I just remember, man, I stopped doing my work. And I just put my pencil down and I just kind of looked around and I was just looking around and thinking to myself, like, yo, is this real? Like, is this really happening? And I remember thinking to myself, yo, people can actually do this? Right? People can actually do that. Because prior to that time, you hear beats, you hear MCs. Of course, it's the early days, and I was already trying to get my little b-boying on, But I remember at that moment, listening to it and thinking to myself, like, yo, I don't really know what's happening right now, just in terms of like being blown away. But whatever this is, I'm gonna be involved in this for the rest of my life.
That's dope.
That's just it. So I didn't, and it's funny because at that time you're still trying to piece the culture together. What does it mean? What are all these elements of the culture? What does it all mean? Especially when you're a little kid. It's only when you get older that you start understanding the culture and all the components and the elements and what it all means. But as a little kid, you just live the culture.
Right.
You just live it. You don't try to define it in any academic way. So I just remember thinking to myself, whatever this is all about, I'm in.
Tell me this, fam. You're in France. What was the hip hop scene even like in France? Like, what year was this? Was this when it came out, like 82? Like, was it later on?
It was a year after. It was in 83.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was there a hip hop scene in France? Was it radio? Anything?
Yep, there was a hip hop scene because the interesting thing is, Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, their second home was France, right after the U.S. They established a Zulu chapter in Paris, like real quick, and so you can kind of feel that presence. You can feel hip hop culture kind of take over. First of all, because it was coming in with the Zulu Nation, that's already kind of like a powerful presence, right? And France was the first nation in the world to have a hip hop TV show. I mean, I know we have Graffiti Rock, but that was just one episode, right? But this was a weekly Saturday TV show dedicated to the culture, right? Every week. And it was
the name of the
hosted. It was actually called Hip Hop.
Okay.
It was called Hip Hop. Like, you can go on YouTube, look it up. Hip hop French TV show. And it was crazy because they broke down the elements. So it was like 30 minutes or an hour. I don't even remember. But they'd have one section where it would be the MCs, one section it was the B-boys and the B-girls, one section the DJs, and then Graph, right? And they would just kind of break it down like that. They would usually finish off with like a breaking battle, and then they would have guests, So I remember seeing like the Disco 3, right?
Oh, wow.
I remember seeing the Force MCs.
Right, before the Force MDs.
Before the Force MDs.
The Disco 3 before the Fat Boys.
Right. Of course, Bambaataa was on it. So it was just really ill. I remember Madonna was on the show too. Right? It was kind of like left field, but
right.
Like Fab Five Freddy would come to the show.
That's
right?
dope.
So to get that on TV every week just really had an impact on hip hop culture in France, and of course that inspired a bunch of French MCs and breakers and writers, et cetera, So there's definitely like an old school hip hop scene in France, that evolved, like, as the golden age here popped off, then they ended up having their golden age, so there's definitely some parallels. But, but for me, that time, my grandmother's house doing homework, and just hearing that and knowing like, this is it. This is what my life is going to be about. And here I am.
All right. That's what's up. P, what you got, miss?
So I wasn't on the show when you guys did the when you fell in love with hip hop. So I have to mention mine here because it kind of coincides. Raising Hell, Run DMC. I know I've talked about this before. Seb may not know this, but I grew up in, again, the prairies of Canada, which is like north of North Dakota. So if you can just imagine the lack of hip hop there was there. Everything was so difficult to get. We would hold on to things forever until the next bit of hip hop would enter and emerge. So we really had time to like live with things. And I remember we were at this family dinner. Persians do this family dinner thing literally Friday, Saturday, Sundays, every weekend, all the time. And our hip hop plug was one of my friends' older brother, who was friends with my older brother, and he would go all around the States and, you know, get hip hop and bring it back. And, you know, these family dinners was where we would listen, and we knew, like, yo, did you get anything? So we're there, and it wasn't upon release. This is one of my biggest, like, gripes with my life, is that I was never, until I got older, I was never able to get things when it dropped. It was always late because it just took so long for us to acquire anything to do with hip hop. So I remember Raising Hell, I don't know, it was probably a couple years after it dropped, but when this dude put on this music, it was in this, like, and our parents didn't love us listening to hip hop. They didn't know what it was, but they just knew they didn't want it. It wasn't classical, so they didn't want us to listen to it. So we would hover around this, like, little tape deck in the corner of this, like, I don't know, attic area of these people's houses, and we'd be blasting this music. And I remember hearing Raising Hell, and I was like, exactly what Seb said. I don't know what this is, but this has got to be part of me forever and ever, and it really was. So that album is just so near and dear to me. I love it. I just cannot say enough about it. It is so vital to my life. So Raising Hell, Run DMC.
All right, that's dope. I think that's one of, well, for a lot of people, you know, to echo what Seb and you said, is just whenever that first time of hearing it, for I feel like a lot of us heads, not the people who just listen to hip hop and, you know, listen to rap, but heads, it was like, again, same thing. You had Raising Hell, mine was Rockbox with Run DMC, but the underlying tone was, whatever this is, I want it. You know what I mean? So I think that's the beautiful thing to keep hearing. I'm gonna start with one of mine. If you follow me, you know easily one of my favorite MCs is Pusha T. You know, love Push to death. The only person who's been able to sell coke for 30 years in different ways. The first time I heard Push was, I'm at 889. One of the DJs throws on this joint, The Funeral. And if you don't know what The Funeral is, but you claim you're a Pusha T fan, just stop, put a pause, take a 20-second time out, YouTube it, get used to it. But The Funeral, when I heard that beat, I was just like, yo, this beat is crazy. These two dudes rhyming are crazy. Then I saw the video for it. I was like, yo, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I even heard from them again until probably Grinding or something like that. But The Funeral was just enough to just grab me and kind of pull me in. And it's just, again, amazing because this had to be 97, 98 maybe. And it's 2023 and Pusha is still at the top of his game, you know, which is an amazing run, especially when you've just been selling coke for 30 years. So one of mine is Pusha T. On the R&B side, I'm going to go with Anderson .Paak. And the first time I heard Pop was Dre's Compton album. Mm-hmm. And I remember a lot of people not liking Compton. I'm one of the very few people who I absolutely love that album. But a lot of people's beef was, yo, he didn't put us on to the new MC because we always would get M or Snoop or DOC. I'm like, yo, he put us on to Anderson .Paak, and Anderson .Paak right now is probably one of the biggest acts, in my opinion, in the world. He does everything. He's doing NX Worries with Knowledge. He's doing Bruno Mars, what's that called, JR? You know,
Silk Sonic.
The Silk Sonic. He does it all. He raps great. He sings great. He plays the drums. This dude is just an all-around great talent. I don't think there's anything this dude can't do creatively. So creatively. So Pusha T and Pac. JR, who you got up first, bro?
I'm gonna go with Donny Hathaway for me. I remember as a kid, like y'all would know, my mom went to.
You remember you were in the studio. It was.
I was just gonna say
exactly. You were in the studio.
You parked the DeLorean and you went into the studio. That's what happened.
So the real first time that you heard Donny.
Here you go. But so you know, we used to come up for Christmas because my mom went to school in South Carolina State. So it would be me, my mom, my cousin, God bless his soul, his sister, and his mom, and we would take the Greyhound up to New York for the holiday. And I was about maybe 6, And I just remember everybody used to like play the game. They would play the Sega and the Super Nintendo, but I would always be focused on my grandparents' music in their china cabinet. So it was one day I just opened it and I grabbed Donny Hathaway. And obviously I might have heard him, but again, I didn't pay too much attention to him. And I remember putting it in and Giving Up came on. And I never forget, that was the moment when I knew that I was an emotional listener, because I never felt emotion like that before. And I didn't know what it was. Come on, it's 6 years old. I don't know what emotion is. And I feel different. It was something different about the way he sung. And I knew the song Giving Up because Gladys did it. And obviously Gladys is my favorite vocalist, but he did it, and it's the way he did it and the way he came in. And I just remember that day, I literally let that 8-track play over and over. And you can't rewind 8-track. You can't do any of that. So you have to listen to the whole thing. And I just remember was like, wow, I like this guy. He's emotional, and it's okay to feel that. And to this day, if you ask my mom, anytime Donny Hathaway comes on, she like, there go your boy. So the first time I heard him, I was like, yo, I love this guy. It's all right to feel emotion in music, and it's okay. So, yeah, Donny Hathaway.
You know the funny thing, JR, that you brought up, and I mean, I knew it, but I never thought about it. You can't rewind an 8-track. So you got to listen to the whole song. Mm-hmm. There is no fast forwarding. There is no skipping to the next song. You got to listen to the whole entire song. Yeah. I'm just imagining what would that mean for kids today who can, just skip over anything.
They couldn't handle it, y'all.
But just the amount of appreciation we would have, because maybe the song that's just alright for you at first listen or doesn't grab you right away, and then you kind of just go past that to the next song. Maybe you actually really do fall in love with that song if you're not just able to just fast forward through it immediately. Right, what you got up for your joint?
All right, so I'm gonna set the scene for y'all. So,
well, here's the thing with you.
Right, wait a minute.
No, oh my God.
Wait. You set the scene, my nigga. You set the scene. So
y'all ain't letting me have it. So
right. So just
no.
Need to set the scene, or
all right, no, not like that.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm a young youth, and I'm watching the movie Crush Groove, right? Now, mind you, by the time I saw the movie, it was a couple years old. So I'm watching, Run DMC and the John and everything, and then they're like, I think they're like auditioning people, and y'all know where I'm going with this.
Oh, but
Yeah.
The
bro,
boy
anyone who's ever watched one episode
you know where you going, right?
knows. We all know.
So the boy walks in, they like, yo, we not, you know what I mean? And he stole the scene, bro. Like, he just like, yo, box and start spitting. I was like, yo, that's that bull right there. Like, when I saw that, I was like, yo, that just made an impression. I already, was like, I would listen to the music that my older cousins would listen to, like, because I was younger. And I was already on my way there. But when I saw that, that's how he became like my first like favorite MC was from when I saw that. I was like, yo, this is crazy. And he killed that scene, you know what I mean? And then it just went like a snowball effect after that. Like, it just everything was, you know what I mean, LL. So that scene from Crush Groove as a kid, like seeing that, I was like, yo, that was like the coolest shit I ever saw. Like, I was just like, yo, this is crazy. And it just stuck with me, you know what I mean? And then it just catapulted me to wanting to listen to more of his music on my own, you know what I mean, as a child, you know what I mean? So,
right. No doubt. Eddie, what's good, bro? Who you got up for one of your artists?
I think I'm gonna go with Busta, man. Busta Rhymes, man. And the first time I heard him was on Scenario. And I mean, Scenario just being so crazy. And I mean, I think that was one of the joints. I probably heard it with my cousin for the first time, and we're like, yo, this shit is crazy. This shit is dope. But then and wound up being the single with the Scenario remix on it wound up being the first cassette I ever bought with my own money. But like hearing that and then hearing, first Busta and Q-Tip going back and forth and then that Busta verse, and mind you, before that, I ain't never heard any Leaders of the New School stuff. I didn't know who Busta was. So that was like, yo, this is crazy. I mean, the only thing was it just took so long to get between Scenario. It just took so long to get that Busta solo album. Right. I wasn't caring about like, oh, Leaders of the New School album, whatever. I was just caring about Busta, man. Because to me, everyone else was cool, but Busta had that standout. You know what I mean? So.
Right. It's funny. Busta was one of my like honorable mention joints, and for me, and this is why I love this show. Was the first time you heard Eddie's was Scenario, mine was Case of the PTA. So I just remember the video. I remember them being in school, and I was like, yo, this is dope, because I was in high school at the time, and it was like the whole Busta Rhymes Mighty Infamous, always misbehaving in mission, bitch. Like, it was like, yo, this dude is dope. You know what I mean? And then Sound of the Zekas, and all those joints off that the first joint, Future Without a Past, or I hated them long title albums of Future. What was the name of their first album? Anybody know offhand?
Yeah, Future Without a Past.
All right, cool. It wasn't nothing. All right, but so like that was it for me. And then like you said, Eddie, but I love the fact that everybody has a different point on that time scale of when they heard somebody and everything like that. So that's definitely dope. Seb, who you got up next, good brother?
All right, so I think you mentioned you got some honorable mentions. I got some too, so I had to narrow it down to 5. But
it's okay. Nobody pays attention to the music around here. Do whatever you want. Go all out. Go all out. Nobody pays attention. Nobody follows.
I'm going in chronological order too. So I started with Mel, and I'm moving up time frame a little bit with Houdini, One Love. Right. So there's a story about that one, right? So I was already listening to Houdini, right? But specifically One Love, that was a special moment. So I heard One Love on I guess on BET, probably watching Video Soul with Donnie Simpson or something, right? And I just remember that song like really hit me, right? Just I was at the crib by myself, just watching TV, and it just really hit me. First of all, because musically it was just dope, right? And it was one of those joints where you see him in New York, and I'm like, oh man, I want that life, right there. I wanna live right there. And I know at some point in the video you got a Grandmaster D and his girl in the video. They're kind of like arguing, and I wasn't really looking at the argument. I was looking at the apartment that they were in, and I was like, oh, that's a dope spot. Like, living in New York, I could live in a spot like that, right? And I wanted the joint, I wanted the song, right? But it wasn't really out yet. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, well, I gotta go to the store and I gotta see if I can, buy it. It wasn't out, right? It wasn't out. And I just felt like I couldn't go that day without listening to it again, right? And but I had no choice. The next day, it turns out that my mom's friend, they wanted to run some errands and do some sightseeing locally, and so I'm there with them, and we stopped at this record store. I asked them if I could stop at this record store, and there was a Houdini poster, right? And I'm like, oh, there's a Houdini poster for the new album. So I just asked the guy at the counter, like, you guys have One Love by Houdini? And he said, nah, we don't have it. I was like, oh man, I need to hear this song again. He said, well, we're not selling it, but I got a promotional 45. If you want it, here you go. And I couldn't believe it, right? That the song that I had heard like the day before, that wasn't out, that I couldn't get anywhere, right? I got it for free the next day. You know, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna listen to this for the rest of my life. You know, like when you really, really, really like a joint, and you're like, I need to listen to it right now, over and over and over again.
Right.
So that's how I got the joint.
That's dope. I mean, for cats out there, I always tell people, for younger people, Houdini, there was a time when Houdini was probably bigger than Run DMC. It may have just been for a week, may have been for a month, could have been longer, but they were right there with Run DMC. If not bigger, they were always neck and neck. I know some people looked at them like, oh, they a little fake Run DMC, the two MCs and the DJ. But to me, they were two totally different groups. Totally different groups. And to me, and for a lot of people who may not realize this, and I ain't talking about billboards and nothing like that, I'm just talking about as far as songs being big, Houdini had the bigger songs, probably up to Raising Hell, maybe. I mean, you're talking about The Freaks Come Out at Night, you're talking about, you know, One Love, you talking about, you know, those Houdini songs were big. 5 Minutes of Funk, you know, like that Escape album was huge, you know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely One Love, one of my favorite joints ever. Again, God Bless the Dead with Ecstasy, but just an amazing group. Big part of my hip hop foundation. P, what you got up next?
Boyz II Men. I had to. Because I could pinpoint the exact moment where I became. Because you guys don't understand.
Go ahead.
No, I remember.
Love with who was it?
No, it wasn't a club. It was Cooley High Harmony, and it was like I think it was a school dance or like.
Who were you in love with? Who were you crushing on?
I don't know, some Italian dude in my class. Whatever. And I remember we go to the gymnasium and honestly, I don't remember if they had like an actual DJ or if someone was just playing some sort of, I don't know what the heck they were playing. I wasn't in tune enough to like go find out equipment and all that kind of stuff. But I remember the first millisecond of End of the Road comes on and every girl in there starts screaming, right? Everyone's like, end of the road, and I'm like, what the hell is end of the road? And then everyone's finding partners and all of this kind of stuff, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening to this song, and it was that moment that I was like, I love love. Like, I just love love.
And that's the thing. If you know my little sister,
listen.
I don't know anybody else who I could explain that to. Like,
you're the greatest, yo.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else who I can explain.
You don't understand. Imagine this like entire gymnasium echoing. They don't have like these freaking sound absorbers. Everything's echoing off of everything. It sounds like shit. All you hear is like, you know, this like whole entire place just whirling with Boyz II Men. And I'm just completely enamored. Like, I was enamored by this. I was like, this is what love is supposed to feel like. It has to be. People are slow dancing. I was not. People were slow dancing. Everyone's all hugged up. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the cutest thing in the world. It's so cute.
Yo, man. I can envision this. This is like...
Honestly, you guys...
A little tear came down her eye.
No tears. But it was honestly, Boyz II Men is responsible for my love of love. Like,
what grade was that?
Oh, I don't reveal my age.
So this is Bruce Wayne. You have no idea. For all we know, Ninja at night at the apartment 5B. She goes to fight crime.
Sam, all we know is that I'm eternally 23.
We don't know.
I'm eternally 23. It's a running joke on the timeline. I'm just eternally 23.
Porsche needs to sell this script to Freeform. You know that Teen Network Freeform? Like,
oh my God.
This sounds like a Freeform made-for-TV movie. Like, the girl in the club, everyone's slow dancing. I discovered what love's supposed to feel like.
Listen, you guys, this is the problem. I need people to understand that Boyz II Men are like the embodiment of like their music. Okay, they're a bunch of dicks. I get it. In my older life, I understood that the dudes are not good dudes. Like, they are not the dudes that emulate their music. Yes, exactly. They're talking about other guys, like maybe unicorn guys, but it's just so sweet and so cute, and I just love it.
All right, P. So we got P with Boyz II Men.
Cooley High Harmony, yes.
When she fell in love with love. Next up for me, I'm going with Philly's finest, Beanie Siegel. I'm going with Beans.
Oh,
First time I heard
Beans
was Crew Love. From '93 to probably 2000, for that like year and a half when I lived in Atlanta. 9 times out of 10, everything that I heard was up at the radio station 889 in the studio, which was amazing to be able to hear so much hip hop from '93 to 2000 in a radio station recording studio through the monitor. So Crew Love comes on and Beans is just doing the whole Monopoly thing, you know, and just the whole thing you give him Piece of My Community, chest, wow, 2 to your chest, you niggas can't pass go because it costs to pass. Y'all niggas cheap like Baltic Ave type to land on jail, can't pay your bill. I was like, yo, who is that? Like, that's a problem right there. And yeah, it was just Beans. And I don't even know if I put together that he was from Philly at the time or whatever, but it didn't even matter. If people know me, it doesn't matter where you're from. I'm not like one of those people that's like, oh, I like Beans because he's from Philly. Like, nah, I don't. Like, you know, or anything like that. Porsche knows. People be like, yo, you don't love Boyz II Men, they're from Philly. Nigga, I know they're from Philly. It doesn't matter. I don't care if they lived on my block. You know, I still like Jodeci better. Neither here nor there. I'm not getting to that argument with these two right here on top of each other right there in the middle of your screen. I'm not going with them today. But it was just Beans. I was like, this dude is amazing. I remember thinking like, yo, Beans, I thought Beans kind of was up next. You know what I mean? Like when Big died, I thought Most was next. You know what I mean? And for people watching, just slow down. I don't mean as far as record sales, because somebody's like, you thought Most Def was going to replace Big's 5 million. I'm not talking about record sales. I'm just talking about who was going to be the dopest MC at that time. And coming off that Black Star album, to me, Most was just on fire. He had it all. He could sing. He had the voice. He had the rhymes. He had the entire, you know, thing. But if it was somebody who was the closest one, it was going to be Beans. I really thought Beans was going to be a problem. On the R&B side, I'm gonna talk about what JR kind of touched on last week with D'Angelo. It wasn't Brown Sugar for me. Like I heard Brown Sugar and I was like, it's cool. Like I thought it was cool. Even to this day, I don't love Brown Sugar. It's a good song, but I don't love it.
Oh,
but I remember,
yeah.
What'd you say?
I'm with you with that.
Now, it did intrigue me when Cass was like, yo, you know, we talking about weed, right? But keep in mind, I wasn't a big weed smoker either. So that really didn't even get me either. But when I was in my man, Cool DJ Frank's basement, he said, Kill. He got this song called Shit Damn Motherfucker about killing somebody who's banging his girl. I was like, I'm all in. Like, this is my kind of R&B. You know, I'm the total polar opposite of Porsche. Now I'm in love with love after being married for 23 years. At that time, nigga, I ain't caring nothing about the fucking love. But I'm sorry, this is an R&B dude who is killing somebody for sleeping with his girl, and the name of it is called Shit Damn Motherfucker. I'm in. I'm all in. And from that point forward, that's when I became a D'Angelo fan. So I got D'Angelo. And then I'm going to also add in newer artists too. So the newer artist of the past 10 to 20 years that is one of my favorite is Dark Low. And a lot of people don't know about Dark Low. He's from Philly. And the first time I heard him was on this joint. He had an album with this dude, V. Don, this producer, that everybody was telling me about. And yo, Dark Low to me, he just reps Philly. I mean, when I think of a Philly MC, when I miss home, I go to Dark Low. I go to Dark Low before Meek, before Trey, before Thought, before Beans. Dark Low embodies real. I don't know if you've heard Dark Low before. He embodies like Philly to the core. So I mean, like usually as soon as I am passing by the airport rail, whatever I'm listening to gets turned off and I put on Dark Low. Like it's literally like the soundtrack to Philly. And I know a lot of people don't mess with Low. Totally get it. I think he's dope. Some other people really don't, but I really, for me, this is a time when him being from Philly and when he's talking, the slang he's using, the words he's saying, the spots he's naming, you know what I mean? It's like, this is Philly. So that would be my old is Beans, new Dark Low, R&B is D'Angelo. Rel, who you got up next, bro?
I'm going with Beans. I got to follow up. I actually heard Reservoir Dogs before I heard Crew Love.
Oh,
and I was like, who is this boy? Like, because the way he was rapping was different. He was take out a quiet town and lie it down. I was like, who who is this dude? And I'm like, and so he's not from where we're from in Philly, right?
Right.
So I didn't know who he was, like, until someone told me that he was from Philly or whatever. But I just remember hearing that, and I'm like, yo. And then you hear Crew Love, and then you start to hear him on different stuff. You hear what's the song where I think he washed Jay on it?
It's on? Oh, Throw Your Hands Up. Yeah. The club.
When he started, how he started that joint off like that, that was his song to me. Like
I agree.
He like people don't like to admit that, but he washed Jay on that. Like not like Jay was whacking that, but his verse was just so crazy. Like he took over that song. So I was with you, Kill. I was like, yo, he about to be it. He about to be it. And I think, different circumstances and things happen throughout his career that prevented that. But I think he was about to be it. And I think his most complete body of work was The Becoming.
Yeah. I was just reaching for this. Don't sleep on the truth, good people.
Oh,
this is the truth, right? Yeah. No, my bad. The reason. The truth was
the first. That's the reason.
I didn't really rock with the first album like that. But the reason, this is a solid.
Get Down, right? Get Down on there. Get Down is one of the crazy. Yo, I'm gonna listen to that when we get off. But
crazy.
He went crazy on that. So I just remember when I first heard him, his style was his own. His voice was his own. It was nothing that you heard somebody else doing.
And he was authentic. It was almost like an MOP thing. Like you just knew, like this a real boy. Like this ain't somebody who just talking to rap. Like nah, this boy is really about that.
So the believability is there with what he's saying. You know what I mean? I was with you, Kill. I thought he was about to be that boy for real. But you know what I mean? Still one of my favorites.
No doubt. JR, who you got up next, good brother?
All right, I'm gonna get this out the way. Mary. I'm gonna get that out the way because what's the 411? Yes, that introduced me to her, and like I've said plenty of times on the show, my dad was hip hop, my mom was R&B, so it worked. This was the album that they can play and nobody could be mad or nothing. You know what I mean? Because everybody can relate. But when Mary came out with this My Life album, it changed my life forever. I think that Donny Hathaway got me ready for that because of how emotional it is and how dark and bluesy this album is. And it was like a time where me and my mom, it was like an escape for us. Like, we was going through some trials during that time and we needed an album that spoke to us. And that album did. And that album we played, I think I brought this album over 50 times, to be honest with you. On record, on cassette, on CD, all that. And that moment, Mary became my favorite artist of all time just from that alone. Just for her vulnerability, everything in it. And again, that Donny got me prepared for it because I didn't have an artist like that made me feel that. And to get Mary, it worked. And that's why that album, when I first heard that album, I was just like, yo, this is, and she was only 22 when she made this. So it was like, yo, you young and embody blues like this. It was taking you back to like when you heard Aretha for the first time. Like it's that, you know what I mean? So when I heard My Life, it was just everything for me. And that's why it's my favorite album of all time. So when I heard it, that's when Mary became my favorite artist. And I heard it literally the day it came out, November 29th, 1994.
Shit, My Life, the song had street dudes in their feelings.
What?
That song.
That was the first time I saw my dad listen to a song and not say a word.
I don't trust people who don't like My Life. You the feds. I don't trust you. I don't want that energy around.
Oh
me.
yeah, I don't lost friendships over that.
I don't
like
trust
that. I'm not talking
like My Life. I don't. I think it's one of the greatest albums of all time, not of any specific genre of all time.
There was
Chucky
Thomas.
My bad, man. No. What you saying, Seth?
No, I was gonna say there was a time when I used to say Mary can do no wrong.
I like how you phrased that. There was.
Thank you. I agree.
There was a time. There was a time.
Oh yeah.
Mary. If I saw Mary's name, I saw it on the show soundtrack with what was that joint? JR, The Rain.
Oh, Every Day It Rains.
Every Day It Rains. Oh my God! Yes. Like Seth said, there was a time when Mary could do no wrong. Like if you saw Mary J. Blige's name, I'm in. Like she was Premier to me. Like if I saw produced by Premier, oh, I'm in. I'm good. Like same with Mary. So I definitely feel you on that. Eddie, what you got up next, bro? You're muted, bro.
My bad. I'm going with someone more recent. It's well, not anymore, but it's Kendrick Lamar. And so for me, the first time I heard him, I was living in downtown LA. This was when Section 80 dropped. So I think it was High Power was the first single from that. And then so I was like, dude, I gotta hear this. So found Section 80, and then it had that rigor mortis joint. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, for a while, and just listening to that, because I'm from Brooklyn, so I think hearing a new artist, like to me, Kendrick was a new artist then. In LA, living in downtown LA, it just kind of hit me different. I know Kill kind of speaks about hearing Outkast when he was in Atlanta and stuff like that. That's how I was experiencing Kendrick Lamar like that. So, I think that album just hit so much for me is that when Good Kid, Mad City came out, the first time I heard it, I wasn't really feeling it like that. And it sounds weird, but it took me a few listens for it to really click. Like, oh, all right, this is a concept album. This is different. But I think him on Section 80, the way he was spitting and all that stuff, it was really clicking with me.
Nah, it's funny you say that. I think I forget because it wasn't as much as To Pimp a Butterfly, but I remember feeling the same way about Good Kid. You know what I mean? That joint with MCA where he like, yo, where are you from? Like I didn't get it. I'm like, yo, what are y'all even talking about? Like I'm just listening to it as a listener, not understanding, like you said, this is a story being put together or whatever like that. So I definitely feel you on that. Seb, who you got up next, good brother?
So this isn't necessarily like one of the biggest acts that's a household name. Kill, I know you'll know what I'm talking about. Rel, I mean, I know you guys will feel me on this, but for me, this means the world to me. Tough Crew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just remember, man, my man D, this is high school, my man D's walking around with his headphones.
Now hold tight, so I gotta stop for a second. You started in Paris. Where are you at with the Tough Crew? Because that's very regional.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm in Cali.
So you're in Cali.
Yeah, Southern California.
You're about the Tough Crew in Cali. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're done, I got a story of why I asked that. But
okay. So my man D got his headphones on, and he's we're passing between classes, right? And I can hear what's going on the headphones, and I just see him. He's like walking around like, you can't fuck with what I'm listening to right now. I'm like, what you got? He just went like this, right? And I was like, yo, what the fuck? And it was Overlord Ice Dog, right? So I just remember it was Overlord, right? And I see y'all shaking your head.
You were bringing back memories. Oh my God.
And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Just his voice. I mean, you already know the voice was crazy. The beats was crazy. And, he just took the headphones off my head. He was like, nah, man, later. But you got enough right now. And I was like, I need to hear more. So after school, he put me on. And then, of course, I had to go and get Danger Zone, the album. And then also he put me on to the shit that came out with Crown Rulers.
Oh, my God. Kick the Ball.
Kick the Ball was Billboard document.
I quit. Kick the ball, man.
That was my shit.
Yo, here's the great part. This warms my heart that it made its way to Cali. And I'm intrigued because I'm at Morgan. It's 92, my freshman year. First of all, for people watching who may not know something, it's a legendary Philadelphia hip hop. Legendary, for Philly. and they had a song called My Part of Town. My Part of Town. If you play My Part of Town at any type of barbecue get-together, bar mitzvah, whatever, with people who are 45 and older from Philly, the whole place will get torn the fuck down. It's that big of a song. But it's funny because I'm at Morgan, and we at my man's crib, little house party. I'm like, yo, let me put something on, man. I'm gonna shut the party down. They like, you sure? I'm like, fuck yeah, like I got this. Y'all put on My Part of Town. Nobody knew that shit. It was like crickets in there. It was like I switch my style like Pepsi. Now make myself clear. It was like that. Like it was crickets. Nobody's moved. And I was like, y'all don't know this? And they was like, yo, we've never heard this song. And it was a whole bunch of New York and New Jersey people. So I'm like, wait a second. This is the biggest fucking song in the world. And that's one of the first times that I realized what you and your crew are listening to doesn't necessarily mean that's what the rest of the world is listening to. And it was just amazing. So the only thing that I've ever heard about My Part of Town from Twitter is down in Florida. And they're like, yo, the bass, like the 808 bass from that song. So I get it because it's like the Miami bass. So they said it was huge down there. Yeah. So that's why I had to ask, like, yo, where were you at? Because I've never heard anybody outside of Philly or Florida name Tough Crew or My Part of Town. But it is a Philadelphia, and I'll never forget. I got to see next time I go home. My mom is a jazz musician, so I grew up in studios, and we actually were in the studio. We were leaving a session and the Tough Crew was coming in, and I got like a picture with one of them, and it was like the highlight of my young adult life because it was just like, yo, the Tough Crew for Philadelphians was almost like what Public Enemy was for the world. Like they were that big in Philly. So yeah, that's crazy. It warmed my heart.
I'll tell you, man, my whole crew, still to this day, man, Tough Crew is like, yo, it's so deep. We rock Tough Crew like it was just like we were in Tough Crew.
Right. And here's the other thing. To the caveat, the Crown Rulers, for people watching, the Crown Rulers out of Jersey, Camden, right across the bridge. But you gotta understand, Camden across the bridge is damn near Philly. So growing up on Lady B, Street B, you heard YZ, who's from right over the bridge. You heard PRT, that was right over the bridge. You heard the Tough Crew. Tough Crew was the original Grand Poobah. Before Grand Poobah Maxwell, even with Master of Ceremonies, it was Grand Poobah and the Crown Rulers. For all my Black Thought people who still haven't won my challenge yet, y'all should already know what the Kick the Ball is because it's the Black Thought remix to Silent Treatment. So for that remix, it's doing the beat of Kick the Ball. So for all you people who want to talk shit about me with Thought, y'all don't even know half the shit I know about Thought. But neither here nor there. Crown Rulers, Tough Crew, amazing. Seb, you just made my fucking night.
That was a name of the album.
One more thing I want to say, man. A couple of years ago, I was able to get DJ Too Tough to speak to my students. This was during the pandemic, so it was on Zoom, but he was able to do a whole set for my students.
That's dope. Too Tough, another name that's not mentioned when it comes to DJs in Philly. We always talk about Tat, we talk about Cash, we talk about Jazzy Jeff. Somebody asked me about Tat, thinking that he was Kwame's DJ, and he was Kwame's DJ, but he started off as Steady B's DJ first. Then he went on to be Kwame's DJ. But yeah, DJ Too Tough from the Tough Crew. Very, very dope. P, who are we gonna fall in love with this time?
No, this is the opposite of falling in love, but I love them anyways. Lost Boys, Love, Peace, and Nappiness album. Okay. That album I love. I think I'm on like.
You're gonna go more darker with the opposite of love. I was
waiting
for NWA.
Well, okay, listen.
I was waiting for something the dark side of love.
The first song that I heard on Love, Peace, and Nappiness was Me and My Crazy World, and it's about a trifling dude who is just so trifling, and I was like, what is happening? But you've got Boyz II Men over here who are just the epitome of love, and then you've got Lost Boys who are like telling you about, look, what? And I remember wanting to not like the song, but I just loved the song. I love everything about it, and it's long. That's the thing. Like, he's just telling the story of these two, of this, like, you know, affair situation, situationship that he has. I guess it's an entanglement. So yeah, that album. I remember my brother picked me up. I think I was at a friend's house. my brother picked me up and he was like, yo, you have to listen to this album I got. And I was like, okay. And he puts on Me and My Crazy World. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And he's like, no, you got to listen to it. It's so dope. And I'm like, but he's cheating on her. And he was like, yeah. Like, he was like, okay, loser. Like,
your heart couldn't take that. Your heart couldn't
take it. But I love the song and I love the album. So, and then of course, Beast from the East. Like, I just love that album. And I don't talk about it as much as I should for the amount that I appreciate it. But yeah, that was a good one. It was good memory.
If you co-sign, I may need to listen to it. I've never heard that album. I was in one album with the Lost Boys. They got me with the first album, but after that, I kind of faded away. You know?
Again,
I mean, I heard Beast from the East because it was
like, here's the thing. I think I'm in the minority with how much I like this album. I don't really hear people talking about it so much, but I do like it. I do like it a lot.
What year did that joint drop?
97.
97. Okay. Yeah, I don't.
One thing I wanted to go back to something that Seb said the last time was going to the store to buy an album. You know, there's something magical about hearing that song on the radio and going to the store. I'm 47 and I can't remember much as I used to, but I remember hearing, I was on Lime Q Pike, I'm driving and the radio was playing Got Till It's Gone by Janet Jackson. And I was blown the fuck away. Like, and I went straight to Shelton Mall. Like, yo, I don't know what the fuck this song is. I don't know what's going on. Some chick is in the background saying on and on. Like, I'm singing the song to the person at the record store. And by this time, you know, the people who worked at record stores didn't even know shit about records. There was a time when if you worked at a record store, you knew your shit. By this time, this was just some random person after school job, probably didn't give a fuck about records and didn't know. But I felt sad when you're like, you hear something and you're like, yo, I gotta go to them. And it's funny because the songs that I'm thinking of were R&B. I felt the same way when I heard Deborah Cox's Nobody's Supposed to Be Here. I never forget, I was at Morgan and my man Tunji from LI, I was like, bro, I need you to take me to Towson right now. Like, I thought it was Whitney Houston. And I was like, yo, I gotta go buy this song right now. This song is so fucking crazy. I've gotta buy it right now. And again, this new generation will never know that pain of having to try to find a ride, trying to get on the bus, or they could just get on their phone and I brought it, you know, and everything like that. So I felt Seb's pain of it being like, no, I got to hear this song again. Like, there was no jukebox at the time where I could order the video again, you know, it wasn't any of that. So I felt your pain on that. Next up, I got Outkast. First time I heard Outkast was Players Ball, and I was like, yo, again, this is different. I don't know what the fuck this is, but I fuck with it. Then when I heard the Players Ball remix, oh God, the remix is one of my top 5 Outkast songs ever. That bass line, Preston Crump was the bass player for Organized Noise. Incredible thing. Then just hearing Southern Playalistic Cadillac music and Get Out and Get Something. Like, it was just amazing. I've loved Outkast ever since they're my favorite. I believe they're the greatest hip hop group ever. Not just my favorite, but I also believe that they are the GOAT hip hop group. Anybody out there watching, just tag me. I wrote a whole 10 paragraph piece breaking down why I feel like that. I will send it to you. On the R&B side of things, it's not really R&B, but it's alternative. Lenny Kravitz. If anybody knows me, Lenny Kravitz is my favorite artist walking the planet Earth. There's nobody doper than me than Lenny fucking Kravitz. I'm in 10th grade. It's 89, and I run away from home. You know what I mean? I don't have a more thorough street way to, I guess I could say I dipped out or, whatever. I ran away from home, and I was living with my grandmother. And my grandmother really couldn't handle me because she's old. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of coming and going. So I'm kind of living ad hoc with sleeping on my man Sean, who was an older dude, sleeping on his couch. And he just will play everything in his house. So, I mean, I heard Lenny Kravitz, Mama Said album. That's when it was It Ain't Over Till It's Over. And I fell in love with that album. And for people who haven't heard it, it's like an open love letter to Lisa Bonet. Lenny was married to Lisa. He was cheating with Madonna. Lisa caught him. She was leaving. And this whole album is dedicated to trying to get her back. So it's one of those Hear My Dear albums, you know, and I love it to this day. I remember Flowers for Zoe. It's amazing because Zoe was a baby, and now Zoe Kravitz is this amazing movie star and actress and everything like that. So Mama Said, and for an updated person, for a newer person, I'm gonna go with Nipsey Hussle. And the thing about Nip is I heard about the work Nip was doing in the hoods before I even heard his music. So I was a fan of Nipsey just from the STEM work he was doing in South Central and the stuff that he was bringing to his neighborhoods. Then I saw the video for Rap Niggas, and that was it. I just felt the officialness. I'm real big on people being official. You know what I mean? Like I said with Beans. And when you see Rap Niggas video with Nipsey, it's like, yo, this dude's official. Like I believe this dude and everything he's saying. And to this day, Nipsey is easily the hip hop death that has affected me the most. I will find myself from time to time just YouTubing Nip. You know what I mean? Because every interview you listen to Nip gave game. Like Nip was at that point where he could have had a book out just about. He's always giving game, and I've never, ever, ever been one of those celebrity couple people. Of course, I love, but I've never been that. Oh my God, Will and Jada, never.
I don't follow celebrity. Just for the record, I don't follow the celebrity stuff.
That's cool, but for Nip and Lauren, I love them together. Like I love Nipsey and Lauren, and the craziest part was they did this thing with GQ where they're answering questions, they're playing this game. And here's the craziest thing: I'm watching that. And I literally paused the TV. My man Steve and his wife are having their anniversary dinner. I go to their house. We're eating dinner. My phone is blowing up. Nip got murdered that day. And it's so ironic that I literally was watching him and Lauren's special. And I paused it like, all right, I'm going to finish this when I get back. And that's the day that he died. So it's easily Nip. Like, and it's like he's 1 through 5 for me because it made me move differently in my neighborhood in DC, because I'm not from, people think I'm from the neighborhood I work in. I'm not. You know what I mean? So it made me move differently because I'm like, fuck, if they could kill Nip in his hood, I got to move very differently in my hood. So, you know, definitely Nip was one of my newest artists. So for me, it was Outkast, Lenny, and Nips. Russell. Rel, who you got him next?
I got Mos Def. The first time I heard him was the Bush Babies. It was the love song, and he was just singing the hook on there, and he was featured on the album, that Gravity album, on another track as well. And then I heard Traveling Man on
the DJ
Honda.
Yeah. And I ran that song, like I played that back to back, and then it was just like, yo, this dude just singing, he rapping. Then all the Black Star stuff come out, and then like I was with you, kid. I thought like, yo, I was like, this dude got everything. Like he got everything you need to be like that dude. You know what I mean? And you know, I don't know. He was started being in movies and stuff like that. Like he just had the total package. I thought, you know what I'm saying? But when I first heard him, like, was off that Bush Babies album that, you know, it was one of those groups that kind of get forgotten about during that time. There was so much dope music out there. It was, you know,
Bush Babies is one of them groups that if they came out right now, they'd be fucking Tribe Called Quest. Like, but at that time, it was like you said, it was just so much. It was nothing. They were a very dope group, but they just didn't have enough to push through everything else that was there.
Yeah. And what about that De La Soul feature on Stasis High?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Big Brother beat.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, certain people when you first hear them, they just stick out to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was one of them people. His voice was different. You know what I mean? He could spit, he could rhyme. So, you know, it just kind of stuck out to me. I mean, I'm gonna follow this dude. You know what I mean, see where his career goes. So it was Mos Def for me.
All right, JR, what you got up next?
I'm gonna go with the artist that I found in like 2003, and it's Joss Stone. And I remember hearing on Wendy, she Fell in Love with a Boy. And I remember her saying that Betty Wright was a part of this, Questlove was a part of it. Because he played the drums. You had Adam Blackstone. You had all these like people behind the scenes that I knew You know what I mean? And then I was just like, and me and mom just liked it. We was like, yo, is she black? Like, who is this girl? And then we was like, yo, so Wendy was like, yo, the Soul Session album is out now. Y'all need to go cop it, whatever. So me and mom went to Best Buy right after, and we went and copped it. And we was like, oh, she white. Oh, okay. All right, cool. So I remember this is when I had my braids during this time. And
I apologize. You had braids like Allen Iverson braids?
Yes, I had cornrows.
Oh, you gotta send me a picture of this. You gotta go.
Oh yeah.
We need pictures.
Yeah, we all need
pictures.
We all need to see this.
From 9th grade to college, I wore braids. But my mom used to do my cornrows, so it's a Friday, and she was just like, "Yo, you got anywhere you going? Let me do your hair, whatever." And we put that album in, and it brought me back to my childhood because all of the songs were remixed of stuff from Aretha, stuff from who else? She did the Isley Brothers. She did a Marvin Gaye, or she did Joe Simon, Choking Kind. So
and what Josh Stone album is this?
The Soul Sessions. That's her debut. And then she did, and what really got us, because Betty Swan is not talked about a lot. A lot of people don't talk about her. I think the biggest record that everybody knows is Make Me Yours. And it's this record that she did, Victim of a Foolish Heart. It's an up-tempo, but Josh made it a slow joint. And with Betty right on background, and me and my mother just sitting there like, yo, we've heard this song for years, but not like this. And I like her version better than the original joint. You know what I mean? So once we heard that album literally is in my top 25 albums of all time, period. And when I first heard that, me and my mom was like, yo, we playing this. And we play it, or I even got it on vinyl. You know what I mean? And my mom tried to steal it, but no. And she tried to steal it, but I was like, nah, son, you ain't let me get some of your stuff, and I gotta go to Kill House to get some of his, and you ain't let me get yours. Like, no, you ain't taking this from me. So yeah, that album was just everything to us, and it kind of bonded me and mom some more. Like, I ain't even go out with my peoples that night. It was just like me and her just played that and just talking, and I've been a fan of Josh since then. You know what I mean? So I've been a fan of her all the way up to her current album now. So
I gotta hear that. I didn't get put on to Josh. I love Spoiled.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of people love. Yeah. And
then the album she did with Raphael Sadiq. Like that's right. Yeah. That's when. But I need to go back and tap in on his Soul Sessions, John. Check that out. Eddie, who you got up next, bro?
I go with Nori, man. Like first time I heard him was the CNN album, man, the War Report. And I talk about this album a lot, man. This was the album like when I was hanging out with my cousin Daniel, like his best friend Manny, and like, yo, man, you couldn't tell us nothing, man. My guy Manny, like he used to just carry the boombox with him, and so he had like a few tapes, and the War Report. I mean, it was just recently dropped, and he would just bang that album like. We'd just be walking around like, going by people's like, like in New York, like you got the fire escapes. So like you got people, especially in the summer, they'll just be hanging out on the fire escape. So, if you're walking by and you're playing something, people will be like hanging out, yo, what's that? You know what I mean? So that joint was crazy. Like you couldn't tell me that album wasn't a classic, man. And then, funny thing is like, then Nori drops his solo album. And this is one of those situations where like the whole Super Thug, right? It didn't click. There was other joints on there that I love, right? Band from TV, Body in the Trunk with Nas, right? All them joints. But like the single Super Thug, it didn't click until I was overseas. I in the Marines, I was overseas in a club in Okinawa, and that joint came out of the club, and the energy was just nothing like I ever experienced. It went crazy. That joint went crazy in the club. So it's like one of them joints that like in the environment makes it,
Right. All right, no doubt. Seth, what you got up next, bro?
I gotta combine a few on this one. So Jungle Brothers and Tribe. So I'm guessing that the first Jungle Brother joint I heard was I'll House You, which
FYI, one of the greatest songs ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was playing this for Naomi the other day, and
word.
House You is one of the greatest. It started a whole genre of hip house.
Yeah, hip house. Yeah.
It didn't do well for me in the long term, but Girl, I'll House You, one of the great songs ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking that's probably the first joint that I heard from the JVs. But when I got the album, I just remember, man, I loved everything on the JVs, man. Like I just love that shit. And then I remember hearing the promo, the last joint on the album.
Five Mic album, one of the greatest albums ever of all time.
Right.
Top 10 favorite hip hop album for me, right here. Top 10 of all time. That's how much. I dig it, man. And when I heard the promo, man, and you hear Tip, it was my first time hearing Tip. It was probably a lot of people's first time hearing Tip since Tribe wasn't out yet. But the voice was crazy. Just the lyrics were just kind of like super like clever. He's talking about his album that's the Tribe album that's coming out in June for $5.99. So it's like you listen to it and you're like, yo, he's telling you when the album's coming out. How it's it didn't really come out as expected, but it was just a dope concept. And then when Tribe's first album came out, People's Instinctive Travels, I'm guessing that I probably heard I Left My Wallet in El Segundo first. And a lot of people didn't like it, especially out here on the West Coast. They thought the shit was real corny, right? But for me, I'm like, nah, this is dope. It's creative and innovative as it can be. And I just remember we got the album, and I'm sure before that I probably heard Bonita Applebum by then. But when we got the album, I just remember me and my boys, man, we were at my crib and we just sat around the box that I placed on the table in the living room, and it was like 5 or 6 of us. We just sat around the box, just hit play, and we just all sat like this, just oh shit, and we listened to the whole album from the first to the last track, just like we were meditating, and we were just soaking it all up, and it was just like an experience, because I don't remember ever having like a communal listening session that was that quiet. We were just taking it all in. So just kind of like that cross between the JVs and Tribe was a big deal. And needless to say, the JVs and Tribe went on to have more albums. Well, especially Tribe. The JVs only had an album after that I liked, and I didn't really mess with the JVs after Done by the Forces of Nature. Same. Another 5 Mic album that nobody talks about. 2 back-to-back 5 Mic albums. JB's actually going on tour this year too, so I'm definitely trying to check it out.
I saw that, and I still listen to both JB's album like they just dropped.
Same here, good brother. Same here. I always will champion for the Jungle Brothers.
Yeah. Me too.
Who you got up next?
So it's not who, it's what. I remember when BET became available in Canada. So I don't know how long you guys had it in the States, but we got it in late 1997. So if you guys had it before, it was late.
Yeah, I mean,
and
we grew up on BET, like
87,
86.
Listen, this is my biggest thing with my American, friends, is that I feel like you guys didn't really appreciate how readily available hip hop was to you guys throughout. I know if you had the same struggles that we did, but I remember like so clearly that BET suddenly with no type of, precursor or any type of like heads up, I was flipping through channels and believe it or not, I see the Daytona 500 video on BET, and I thought I had a heart attack because I could not believe that it was the middle of the day. And because, okay, I'll set the scene, like, Rel. Typically, we
know it's going to be a GC for you, so we don't have to give you a precursor.
So we had Rap City, and Rap City was available on Much Music from 12:30 at night until 1 in the morning. It was half an hour, and it was loaded with commercials. So if you took out all the commercials, you really only got 3 videos, only on Friday and Saturday nights, if I remember well.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy. So I would have the VHS ready to go, and I would record anything that came on during that half hour, including commercials, because I just wanted to rewatch it for the whole week. So when BET came on and it was the middle of the day, I was flabbergasted. Like, you cannot imagine what my state of being was. I did not allow anyone in the household to change the channel because I didn't know when it was going to go away. So we had a TV in the family room. Everyone had TVs in the rooms, but the family room TV, BET 24/7, nobody touched that channel because I was like, I don't know when they're going to take it away because they didn't tell me it was coming on. So too bad.
You know what? This is the wild part because this sounds like me when dark-skinned guys finally came into style. I was like, I'm just doing everything because I don't know when I'm in. Because last week I wasn't in, this week I'm in. I come back every year like, we still in good. We got another year, y'all. So I feel your pain on not wanting to turn the channel.
Yeah.
The damn show is like, I'm going to come back one year and it's going to be like, nope, I'll be showing them back in style.
So the first video I saw in the middle of the day on BET that suddenly appeared like, I don't know, the hip hop god sent to me was Daytona 500. And I was like, floored because I was like, oh my God, I don't know how long I would have had to wait to see this video, you know? And of course it was a year after. I don't even know when the video dropped, but I saw it right when I saw BET for the first time. And then the R&B video that I saw, which was on Midnight Love, because again, the TV was on 24/7 on BET. All of a sudden Midnight Love comes and it's Allure. All cried out, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love them!" And I just love them, and I wanted them to date 112. You guys know the story.
Goes back to Boyz II Men and love.
It's true. So that's the one thing I had to bring up.
BT. All right, next up for the old school, I got Chuck D. Easily one of my favorite MCs of all time. First time I heard him in the summer of 1987, you could not do anything without hearing Rebel Without a Pause. At that time, we thought it was called Terminator X because that's all you heard during the chorus. I mean, literally every car, the entire song. I mean, just everywhere you went. I don't care where you went. You heard Chuck's voice. Yes, the rhythm of Rebel Without a Pause. I'm lowering my level. I mean, just everything. And just knowing that it was just something different. Like, you know, I'll throw it down your throat like Barkley. Like at that time in Philly with like Barkley, it was just like, yo, this is the greatest song ever. And then of course he just goes on to own what I believe is the greatest hip hop album ever. It Takes a Nation of Millions. So that's kind of the old school. The kind of updated one is Joe Budden. Now, when I talk about Joe Budden, anybody who knows me, I'm only talking about MCing. I'm not talking about podcasting. I'm not talking about reality TV. I'm only talking about one aspect of this man, which is MC. And that's the only thing I will defend about Joe Budden is that. And it was 2009 where at an MOP show. It's MOP, Joe Budden, Terminology, Big Suge. I've told the story a million times, but like literally like 30 people were there when Big Suge and Terminology performed. Joe Budden hits the stage. I swear to God, 300 people magically appear out of nowhere. And they know every word. I came with my man Esco and his man from Brooklyn, and they were more hyped to see Joe. And I'm like, that pump it up, nigga. Like, this the dude y'all want to see? And Joe rocked for 45 minutes. Everybody knew every word. And I'm just sitting at the bar, bored out my mind. Like, that was the first time in my life I've ever been somewhere and been left out of hip hop. And that day I went home, I downloaded every Mood Music mixtape. I think it was up to 3 at the time. And I dived into Joe. Joe is an amazing MC. But again, that's where it stops. And on the R&B side of things, Raphael Sadiq. You know, I think he is one of the greatest of all time. I tell people, It Never Rains in Southern California came out in 1989. I'm in 10th grade. It's 2023, people. And this man is still one of the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? Whether it's his music, whether it's production. I have on my website, I have a mixtape called The Conductor, which is just all the stuff he's produced for people. It's over 3 hours of incredible music. I know people didn't like, this is probably my favorite album. The Stone Rollin' is probably my favorite Sadiq album. But I also love Jimmy Lee. I know a lot of people didn't like this album. I mean, I'm big into concepts, and this just being about his brother and his brother's drug abuse. Like, there is no, people were like, where's the dance tonight? Or where's the song? And I'm like, it's not that album. I love this album too. So so that's Chuck D, Joe Buttons, and Raphael Sadiq. Rel, who you got up next? You muted, bro.
I was trying not to do this, but so I can't remember how old I was, but I just remember the Straight Outta Compton video comes on. Now, mind you, I thought Compton was like the scariest place in the world when I saw that video. Like, I just was like, yo, Compton. I'm like, yo, I'm never stepping foot in Compton. Like, I'm not going to Compton. Like, but, you know, Ice Cube starts it off. Straight Outta Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube from a gang called Niggas with Attitude. Like, that shit was like, we had a show about starting songs off, like people that's, the way he started that song off, it just caught your attention, you know what I mean? Like, and the imagery and everything that was going on in that video was just like, for someone that was the age I was, it was like, I was like, yo, Compton, like,
How old were you?
It came out 88. Right?
88.
7.
That's amazing.
Oh, 88.
I was blown away.
I was 6. I'm sorry.
I was blown away, and I was 14. So I could only imagine for a 6-year-old.
I was like,
Straight Outta Compton.
Yo, and I was like, yo, this is the scariest place in the world. Like, it's the scariest place in the world. Like, the way that video was shot, and like, it was just, I don't know. I can't explain.
And the funny thing about that, bro, is 6, by me working with kids, 6 is such an impressionable young age. Because here's the thing, I want to say I saw The Wiz when I was 6, and I was scared of subways for at least a fucking year. Like, I was not fucking with subways after seeing The Wiz. So 6 is such an impressionable age. So not only seeing the visuals of the video, but just started out with a crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. Like, that's enough to damn near scar you. I remember listening to Lottie Dottie with Rick's little curses here and there and be like, oh shit. Like, that's some, that could be some traumatizing shit for a 6-year-old man.
And I remember it was this boy in my class, that was his favorite song. Like, we had like a little thing where we had to say what our favorite, and his favorite song was.
And he stood up in class and said Straight Outta Compton.
He wrote it. Like, we had to write it on a thing, and like, you had to present it. And when he said, I said, what is wrong with this little nigga? This nigga's crazy. I said,
yo, if you
we got to watch him,
and you got the balls to write down Straight Outta Compton, dog, that nigga may be in jail right now.
Yo.
He may be in jail right now.
So I'm like, Straight Outta Compton. That video scared me, and that was his favorite. So I don't know what happened before, but anyway, yeah, Ice Cube, and he, Ice Cube went on to be, as you know, if you watch, one of my favorites of all time. So yeah, that's when I first heard.
The funny thing with Straight Outta Compton, I remember seeing them, and my man Sean, I'm in 9th grade, my OG Sean is in 11th grade. He was like, man, you gotta listen to Straight Outta Compton. I was like, them dudes with Jerry curls? I'm not listening to that shit. It's got Jerry curls. Like, again, I didn't know West Coast shit at that time. Now I know Jerry curls were cool. All I know is, like I tell everybody in LA, who in hip hop had a Jerry curl before NWA? What? Dougie Fresh had an S curl. That was it. Jerry curls were
Curtis Blow.
Basically
Curtis
Blow. Boom. Curtis Blow, which was 84. After that, Jerry curls were basically for R&B groups, Ready for the World, everything like that. So pardon me for being an East Coast dude, not seeing nobody with a Jerry curl since Curtis Blow, and now they're coming out with Jerry curl saying, fuck shit. You know what I mean? But the second I brought Straight Outta Compton, I've been hooked ever since. So again, you cannot judge a book by the cover. I apologize, Porsche and DJ Quick. I judged you by a perm. I apologize. It won't happen again. Yes, Seb, I did not listen to DJ Quick because he had a perm. I was like, it's 91. Like, I haven't seen a perm since fucking Jermaine Stewart if we don't have to take our clothes off. So, I'm fucking sorry if I'm not believing this nigga's from Compton with a perm.
Oh my god.
If you had a perm in 91, that meant you were a pimp or a killer. I did not have that information.
I see it with my own eyes too, man.
Again, I didn't have the information. I tell people this before we talk about West Coast bias and East Coast bias. So much of music has to come down to being in that environment. Yeah. I don't know if y'all watch this show called Blind Spot on Stars. I love it. It's based in Oakland. They talk about Oakland's they deal with a lot of Oakland hip hop, and they deal with like, I want to go visit Oakland now, like, because of this show. And I mean, I was listening to an E40 song going to work today, y'all. Me listening to E40 blasting that shit. It's called, like, I Hope I Don't Have to Go Back to Selling Yayo. It's the catchiest fucking song in the world. I love it. You know what I mean? And it's from that show, but it's because they're showing you the whole culture of the show. So much when it comes down to music. I've never gotten into those DJ Screw mixtapes like that. I'm like, you slow it down. That doesn't sound right. But I'm sure if I went to Houston and hung out with some Houston motherfuckers like that for a week, I'm sure I'd probably come back loving DJ Screw. So much when people talk that bias, to me, that's only if you've been there. If I can say I lived in Oakland for a year and I don't like, maybe I just don't like it. How about that, everybody? Everybody doesn't have to be a bias. How about you just don't like it? If somebody says I don't like beans, the first thing in my mind is not to say, oh, you West Coast bias, or you up north bias. You just don't like beans. You know what it is? Somebody posted this on Instagram today, and I think this is like my catchphrase for life. I only give a fuck. I only have enough fucks to give to stay employed and stay out of jail. That's it. That's literally it. I have no more fucks to give. So if you don't like beans, I don't give a fuck. I don't even have the time to even think it's East Coast bias. I don't give a fuck what y'all like, to be honest with y'all. I mean, I honestly don't. So I just don't understand, why do y'all give a fuck if I think? Neither here nor there. All that to just say is that so much of it comes down to you had to be this. So
it's about exposure. It's about exposure. Like,
it's about exposure.
We weren't exposed to certain stuff. Like I remember, I thought Go-Go was the most ridiculous brand of music I ever
in the world. The only thing I knew about Go-Go was the butt by EU for the school days.
Yeah.
Until I moved out here to the DMV. Yeah. And until you go to a real go-go,
you go to one.
Everybody.
You go to yes.
Let me take you to a go-go out in Oxon Hill. Let me listen. And I guarantee you will have a different, different. So again, it's like what Rel said, it's about exposure. And I'm just sorry, my mom wasn't rich. I wasn't traveling. The only place I went every year was to Brooklyn to stay with my cousins. That's it. I didn't have cousins in LA. I didn't have cousins in Houston. I didn't, Eddie, one thing great about the military, people travel. You get around other people. I've been around East Coast dudes my whole life. Yeah. I've been around Philly, Jersey, and New York dudes my whole life. Sorry I didn't get to travel more, y'all. But it is about exposure. JR, what you got up next, bro?
I was going to say Raphael Sadiq, but I actually was going to talk about an album when I first heard, and it's the one that you didn't say. You know it's my favorite, The Way I See It. When I first heard I Love That Girl, because this is 2008, and this is becoming the time where R&B is really, this EDM is starting to come in. So this is all what we hearing, this EDM sound. This is where Chris is going, Rihanna's going, Beyonce's going, Neo's at. Like, this is all what we're hearing. So I'm starting to be like, come on already, right? So I remember coming back home, because this is, I remember coming back from home. This is August of 2008. And I heard I Love That Girl from Raphael. And I said, this is what I'm talking about. So when is this album coming out? And it came out a month later in September. And I remember going to Best Buy and copping it. And I fell in love with that album so much that I finally got the joint on vinyl that I have been trying to get for the past almost 20 years. And I finally found it. But this album to me was just everything. It took me back to Motown, and y'all know how much I love that. I'm wearing a Stax hat, but I love Motown. And to have Jack, you know, the Funk Brothers actually playing on this joint, and it just took me back there. And then, you know, John Stone was a part of it. They did kind of like a Marvin and Tammy type of record. And it's just like, it comes in with just Sure Hope You Mean It, with like, it felt like, you know, James Jamerson was playing on the bass. Like, that's what it felt like. And Raphael said this album, he was literally inspired so you can hear that bass, so you can feel James Jamerson all over this project. And let me tell you something, this album is everything. I got my mom loving it. I got my grandparents loving it. Like, this album is just everything, yo. So when I first heard it, I wanted everybody to know, because come on, I'm in college. There ain't nobody. Come on, they not trying to listen to this. Everybody on their own, you know what I'm saying, the new shit now. And I'm in my dorm room playing this, and I just wanted everybody to hear it. And the first time I heard it, I just felt like I was in my childhood again.
JR, the next time you come through, you gotta read this. This is about the making of that album.
When you had that the whole time?
It's always been here.
And you just telling me this?
Bro, he about to point on you for that, yo.
Right. Shit, I shouldn't have showed you then.
Yes, you shouldn't have. Are you crazy? You know I love that album.
I wasn't trying to hide it, bro.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, when I come,
I feel like I get more. I feel like I get in more trouble with JR than I do with my own wife. Like, I'm always in trouble.
Are you serious? Oh, well, that's fine. When I come to your house, I'm reading that. You can play all the
everybody out there. If you can get your hands on this, it's a breakdown of all the studio tricks and techniques that he did to get that Motown sound on that album.
I'm really feeling some type of way, Kill. For real. Like, for real right now. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Eddie, he's drinking of the red cup. In a minute, I'm getting cursed out. So, Eddie, save the day and come up with something good, man.
All right. I'm going to switch it up a little bit because, you know, we've been doing MCs. I want to do, it is an MC, but he's first known as a producer, and that's J Dilla. First time I heard him, man, was Lab Cabin, California, by the Far Side. You know, running and drop and bullshit, whatever else he did on that, man. And honestly, like, I heard Far Side before, right? Like, She Keeps On Passing Me By, whatever. But I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of that first album. I know people crucify me for saying that. I was not a huge fan. I mean, I like Passing Me By, but you know, I wasn't running.
I feel like it's a dope album. But here's the thing. Keep going, Eddie. I'll save my stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was cool, but I not like, you know, when I say I like Lab Cabin, California, like Lab Cabin, California is the one that I was really a fan of what Pharcyde was doing on that. And, you know, a lot of that had to do with the joints that JD produced, right? So then it was that. It was Stakes is High, you know, title track for De La Soul and whatever else he might have produced on that joint. Then you had the stuff he did for Busta Rhymes on The Coming, you know, and that stuff was crazy. And, you know, we talked about this with the Uma, whereas I didn't know that he was producing on the Beats, Rhymes, and Life because it was the Uma,
right?
You know,
right, me too.
So I didn't know that was him, but you know, all that stuff was crazy, and obviously, you know, for him to kind of go from JD, then you know, turn into J Dilla and kind of switch his whole style up, right? I guess he was still JD when he did Like Water for Chocolate with Common.
Yeah, he was still in his JD bag.
Yeah, and that's probably even though you got the premiere track, so it's not a fully produced J Dilla album, but I still say that's my favorite produced body of work by Dilla, by JD. You know, that album.
Dilla, of course, was on mine. My first time hearing Dilla was Get a Hold. on Tribe off of
Oh,
Tribe.
man. Wow.
And this is one of the times I know exactly where I was. I was sitting in my man Montez's Jeep outside my mom's house. He played that, and it was, yo, what the fuck are those drums doing? What is this even doing? I remember going directly in my mom's house, turning on the ASR 10 in the basement, trying to do whatever the hell Dilla was doing, you know. But like Seb said again, it wasn't my album, so I had to wait to even hear it again to try to remember what I heard in his Jeep and try to emulate that. So that was like the first time I heard Dilla, and I mean, we have a whole Dilla episode, so I don't want to bore and belabor people with, you know, everything about Dilla. Go out and read Dilla Time, man. It's an amazing read. You'll learn so much about Dilla. But yeah, to me, the GOAT producer ever. Not necessarily my favorite producer ever, but I do think he is the GOAT. Seb, who you got up next for your last one, good brother?
I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna give you two R&B. I'm gonna give you a new one or newer one, and some from a few years back. So a lot of people may not know this. The Young Disciples. Young Disciples. Yes, sir, JR. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right. So I was back in France at that time, and the Young Disciples is, I mean, I guess you could, if you had to classify it, you could call it neo soul before neo soul was a thing. But it was part of this movement in the UK, and I was in France, so you know, close enough. It was part of this movement in the UK that was really kind of like trying to bring back R&B, but more from a soulful standpoint. So I would say the artist who probably kicked it off was Omar. But there was this whole movement in the UK, you know, a little past Soul to Soul and, you know, all of that, right? And that album, I just remember hearing that album, and it was like really a movement. Again, if you didn't live at that, if you weren't living there, or you know, you don't know the Young Disciples, it's hard to describe, but it was really a movement.
Now, Sam, the Young Disciples are a group.
Young Disciples are a group.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Young Disciples are a group. So one vocalist, Carleen Anderson, and two producers or two musicians. Okay. And that album, man, actually has a lot of amazing beats, samples. Master Ace is on it. It's almost like the equivalent of like when the Brand New Heavies dropped their first album.
Oh,
you know, and because it was kind of like the same, you know, they were on Talking Loud Records, which is the same label that Brand New Heavies were on. But the Brand New Heavies were kind of like the breakout of that, what's called the acid jazz movement.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they broke out and they made it like globally. Right? Young Disciples was probably that, you know, the foundation of it, but they didn't blow up like Brand New Heavies did. But it's part of that movement. You know,
so they have one album I see, because I had to look them up. What you're saying? They got one album on Spotify. Is that the only one?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yep, that's it. They got that one album. You know, like, and Carleen Anderson is an amazing vocalist. She's a professor today. And just, you know, samples, break beats, scratching, but then there's also some real organic soulful music to it. The last joint on there is like 3 parts, just really heartfelt. Freedom Sweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like if you don't know Young Disciples, please.
I'm gonna tap in tonight. I'm tapping into this and
the
Josh Stone.
You will like it. Okay, you will like it. You will like it.
And you really gotta listen to like the whole joint. You know what I mean? Like don't you know, because one joint might sound like it's 1991. You know, so it might not connect as much. But then there's other joints that are really timeless. You know, and it's just, man, it's just such a big piece of my life. And to this day, man, I listen to Young Disciples like I'm listening to some magical album that, only a certain part of the world knows about, except for JR.
Oh, that's because JR probably went back in time and
there you go. And then on the newer side is a group called SAULT, SAULT.
Oh, come on! Oh,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah. So
crazy.
Yeah, you guys already know. So
Crazy.
So this mysterious group, right? Who isn't as mysterious when you dig it up and you start.
You're right.
right. But the album they dropped in 2020, I'm blanking out on the title, but I know it's a fist on the cover.
Yeah, it's Untitled.
Untitled. There it is. That's why I forgot the title, because it's Untitled. So the theme, man, is, we're talking about, the Black Lives Matter movement is just really, at its peak, and it's really the soundtrack to the movement. From the first track to the last track, it's not officially the soundtrack, but when you listen to the music, it's all like revolutionary music, right? It's all conscious music, and it's so diverse in its approach. You got what sounds like more, I guess, contemporary soul, but then you have joints that have a hip hop element to it. You got joints that have a lot of African percussion, and it's just like so multi-layered. You have spoken words on it, and the idea that you don't really know who's in the group because all of it is super mysterious, especially at that time. You just know this album just came out of nowhere, pretty much, right? And it's just hitting the world. And if you're hip to it, then it's almost like you're part of the secret society of people who know SAULT. Like, SAULT, like, really?
Right.
It's just, and I just remember feeling like this was the best. I don't know if we can call it R&B, but for a lack of a better description, one of the best albums I'd heard in like 10 years. It was that impactful to me. So
yeah, that's dope. P, what you got it for your last one? Before the honorable mentions, because I know you have more than 5.
Okay, thank God. So, my last one, I'll save the other one for honorable mention, but I'm going to go with Tupac's, what song was it? Keep Your Head Up. And I was in California.
That's the first time you heard Pac.
Yeah, it would have been around the first time I heard Pac. And I was in California. My cousins live in San Diego. So we had an much older cousin who was the brother of the other two. And they were super into cars, souping up cars and all that kind of stuff, like carbon fiber hoods. And they were always going to shops to get performance parts for their cars, right? And we're driving from San Diego. I think it was far. Like, I don't know, Eddie, are you familiar with the area? Like, it was from like probably San Diego to Carlsbad. Is that like a big distance?
Well, yeah, because Carlsbad is probably it's probably like an hour away from downtown San Diego.
Right. So we're going from San Diego to Carlsbad, and we're driving, and these guys have Tupac on, and I was like, listen, windows pulled down, California air, palm trees. There is like, I just cannot explain the epitome of California that this was. And I'm listening to Tupac Shakur, and I am like, this is just the best thing ever, like ever. And the only other time that I had that feeling was with DJ Quick. When I heard DJ Quick, it like teleported me back to that feeling. And also Blues, A Long Red Hot Los Angeles Summer Night. When he dropped that album in 2019, I think I talked about it on Apartment 5B. That album, like these 3 albums to me are like the epitome of California. And I just remember so clearly listening to Pac for the first time and then having that same exact West Coast, really soaking in California, like Southern California, in that moment, and then I was able to relive it again with DJ Quick's albums. Really, I would say the first two, and then Blues album, the 2019 drop. Like, it was just phenomenal, and it's the best feeling ever. So had to talk about that.
All right, no doubt. I'm going with Pharoah Monch, one of my favorite MCs. Of course, he's in Organized. To be honest with you, I thought he was dope during Organized. You know what I mean? But I Organized to me was like almost like half and half. Like in Baltimore, they have half and halves, half lemonade, half iced tea. I know other people call them Arnold Palmers. I never heard that shit before because being at Morgan and Baltimore was just a half and half. And you know, once you make a half and half, you can't go back in and get your lemonade out or go back in and get your iced tea out. They're just commits. So whenever I listen to Organized Confusion, to be honest, I never heard one or the other. I just heard them, like almost like as one voice, like, you know, similar to me. And it wasn't even like that with Smith and Wesson. Like, I can't even say that with other groups. Like, I don't know what it was about Organized, but I just heard them as one voice. Like, even with EPMD, it's like I liked Eric more, I liked Tech more, or with Organized, I just liked them. You know what I mean? So it wasn't until I heard Simon Says that I was like, yo. Again, I'm up at 889. Of course, we'd always get shit before it came out. My connect at Rocket sends me the 12-inch for Simon Says. And it was just the energy that's still there. I feel like that energy is still there now. If you throw on Simon Says with the right age group, you could just come back and forth. You could just go back and forth just with the intro before the drums drop and people will be losing their mind. But when I heard Simon Says, I was just like, yeah. It's something about Girls Rub on Your Titties that just really stood out for me.
Oh my God.
Just kind of clips this album. Like, this,
oh my God.
Ladies, rub on your titties. And then he says, yeah, I said it. Rub on your titties. And I was just like, rub on your titties. Okay.
All right. Yo, so I got a confession. I don't know if I ever shared this with y'all.
I don't know if we want to hear his confession, Eddie. Or
No.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with Girls Rub on Your Titties. All right. but
ever since Rel joined the team, I don't know what the fuck y'all gonna say. It's like Rel just gave us. All censorship laws went out the window with Rel. So I got to throw warning signs up every time. But okay, Rel. I mean, Eddie, where you going?
Yeah. But it does have to do with internal affairs, right? So I remember
my story had to do with internal affairs. But go ahead.
So
didn't have to do with titties. That's the real question we gotta bring back.
I mean, technically,
okay, it has to do with titties. Keep going, Eddie. We'll get the Rel's dirty side of this story because I'm sure your side is much more PG-13.
Yeah.
We go to the R-rated Wolverine. Like this, Rel was one of the people who's going, we need more violence in superhero movies. Fuck these kids. Man. Like, forget this. They need to be all R-rated movies. Back to the first X-Men.
So when did Internal Affairs, like 99, right? So
yeah, like 98. Yeah, like 98, 99.
90, right. So I remember I saw it. I was in the military at the time. I think I was at the exchange, and this was like same time I picked up Things Fall Apart by the Roots. I saw the Pharoah Monch album, Internal Affairs, and I look at the album because I also had started like going to church around this time, right? So I look at the album cover and I'm just like, my first thought was like, what is this demonic looking shit? So it's like, all right. And then on top of that, I turned it around. I was like, oh, Simon Says is on there. But then I'm looking at the song titles. It got Hell, a song named Hell. And then I got a song named Rape. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I can't get this album.
Now, Eddie, this is a very good place from coming from church, seeing this as maybe devil worship music. Bro, where are you going to take it to, good brother?
No, I'm not. Nowhere.
Go ahead, Eddie. I'm dying to know where you will go with
real quick. And I'll finish that, which is I regret for a long time not picking it up because you remember because of the sample clearance issues the album went out of print for a long time.
Yes.
So I remember kicking myself for not picking it up. And at the time, I was like,
but I mean,
nah,
Eddie, you saved your soul, so don't kick yourself. You thought it was devil worship.
Oh
You
my
saved
God.
your soul. You're getting into heaven, so
What samples didn't get cleared?
the Godzilla.
Simon Says.
Godzilla.
Oh
Clear.
wow, okay.
So
Yeah.
they got hit in the head big time for that. But no, really, Ron, I need a good laugh. I've had a fucked up week, so please tell me your titty story. I'm dying to know.
No, because that really wasn't what I was going with. That it's a lot worse. But I just met Seb. I don't want to have this impression, so we're gonna move on because the joke I was saying is so bad and it's not cool, and I don't want to make a bad impression. So we're just gonna move forward.
Okay, so back to Simon Says. So that's when I really became a Pharoah fan. I think his discography is flat out amazing. To me, one of the greatest discographies
Yes, agreed.
of all time. Never have I run into a Pharoah fan and seen us all name the same albums as our favorites. You know, normally I'm hearing different things. Some people say Desire, some people say Internal Affairs. So I love that about Pharoah. For new school, if you know me, you know where it starts with
Oh yeah.
Reasonable Doubt. Stove God Cooks. You know, again, I have to shout out my man Joe from Chicago, Rican. He showed me love while I was in Chicago. He is the one who called me and said, Kill, you got to hear this album. And I said, do you see how fucking stupid this album cover looks? I'm not listening to this shit. Are you crazy? He's like, Kill, I know the album cover looks crazy. I'm like, what kind of name is Stove God Cooks? Like, I don't even know what you're talking. He said, I hear you. Just please listen to this album. And I've been all in with Cooks ever since. So definitely Stove God Cooks. And for my R&B joint, I don't know why this surprises people, because people who know me should know I listen to everything. I'm going with Solange. And the first time I really got big on Solange was with this joint right here. I heard I Decided, loved that song. And then I just go into this album. I mean, from Tony to Dancing in the Dark, would have been the one. I mean, I absolutely love this album. I'm a huge Solange fan. And I mean, again, you tap back in with Raphael Sadiq for this album. Just again, another amazing album. Solange's pen game is stupid, it's crazy. And what I love about her is she's literally like 180 degrees from her sister. You know, she's not trying to be I'm gonna be the Solange version of Beyonce. It's like, I'm gonna just be me. You either gonna fuck with me or you're not gonna fuck with me. And I love Solange for that. So that's my last joint. Gerald, Rev, what you got?
My last one's a R&B's kind of recent. Interesting story. Last month I went on a crazy adventure to go see this young lady in New York perform at the Blue Note. It was amazing, by the way, but let me rewind. I used to listen to Joe Budden's podcast when Rory and Maul was on there, and they would always do sleepers at the end. And Rory's sleeper was a Robert Glasper song that was Robert Glasper, Kay Trinata, and it was Alice Isley singing on it, and it was a song called No One Like You. And the first time I heard it, I was just like, yo. And I played it over and over, and then that got me into Alice Isley. She's one of my favorite like R&B artists right now. I really like all of her stuff. Marigold that she came out with was amazing to me, and I got to see her live in New York, and it was good. The band was good. She sounds great in person. So that's my last one. Alice Isley.
That's a good ass choice.
Oh my God.
JR, who you got for your last joint?
All right, yeah. I'm gonna go with the OJs. My whole family loved them, but when I heard You Got Your Hooks in Me, it was something about that record that I was just like, yo, what the? And then the breakdown with Eddie and Walter, and they going back and forth with each other, and it was just like, yo, after that, I wanted to hear everything they did. So it started from there. So I went all the way back to, I started with Backstabbers and just went all the way, and they became my favorite group. So it was just the first time I heard them. It was just like the dynamic between Eddie and Walter, and then all the harmonies coming in together, and then the production of Gambling Up and all that, and then for all that, the OJs became my favorite group. So anytime I hear them, everybody like, we know that's your favorite group, so it's them.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Eddie, what you got up last?
All right, my last one. Portia will like this one. It's Blue.
Yay!
And so think about, like, I think his first joint dropped 2007, and at that time, like, listen, like, there wasn't a whole lot, like, from the artists I enjoyed, like, aside from, like, you know, obviously Ghostface was holding it down for the Wu and stuff like that, right? So it was a time I was, like, looking to discover new artists, because it was like a lot of MCs that was, like, disappointing me, man. Like, it was just a weird time in hip hop. And I remember hearing the joint Soul Amazing on a mixtape. It was like just a mixtape I downloaded from okplayer.com. And I heard that and I was like, yo, like, out of the whole mixtape, that song stood out to me, because it was like, who is this? And the production, Exile's production, was just crazy. And so, you know, when I finally got the album, like, the whole album was amazing. And it just, like I said about Kendrick Lamar, listening to that, like, I mean, I wasn't living downtown, but at that time, it was like I had just officially got out of the military. So now I was, like, out. I was living in, you know, Los Angeles area. And it was just like, it kind of spoke to me, like, you know, all of that, like the vibe of the production and Blue's lyrics, his laid back voice and flow and all that, like, because, you know, coming from Brooklyn and then being in the military and stuff, like, you know, being on the West Coast, that's how it felt. It felt way more laid back than what I was used to. So that music kind of matched that energy.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Seb, any honorable mentions? Anybody you didn't get a chance to mention?
Yeah, it's a lot, and some of you guys mentioned them. You know, everybody from Big Daddy Kane to Rakim. I mean, you mentioned Rebel Without a Pause. That's actually my favorite joint of all time. And PE is my favorite group of all time. So, but Ultra Mag. You know, there was definitely some ultramagnetic MC stuff I could have talked about. Just Ice. Yeah, so just a lot of people. I could have shouted out Full Force as well. You know, so, you know, lots of you know, shit, Tony. We talked about Raphael Sadiq, you know, but Tony.
I'm excited, JR. We got to go to this tour if they really touring together.
I don't know what's going on with this, because I'm like, what's going on with the dates? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Sadiq stuck in 1989. He don't know, nigga. If you say it's a tour, you better have them tickets on sale within 48 hours, and we gonna forget all about the tour. He still thinks it's 1988, where you can say it's a tour coming, and we still waiting.
Right.
It's a whole nother day. It's a whole nother day.
Well, I did want to say, if you look up Young Disciples, make sure you get the right Young Disciples, because there's like I think there's like a Christian group named the Young Disciples, and then there's
I'm like, I don't think this is the sound that we
right, and then there's a group of little kids named the Young Disciples too, something like that. So yeah, so, you know, don't go listen and then like, what the fuck was Seb talking about?
I'm sure if once you hit play, if it ain't some neo soulish type stuff,
yeah.
Hit and a half, you hit the wrong ones.
right.
No doubt. P, what you got up left?
I'm just going to do one. It's the Illadelph Half-Life CD. And the reason I want to bring that up is because that was... I've talked about it on Apartment 5B before, where not all throughout my life, I would say after my formative years with hip hop, I was always told that hip hop was a phase and that I would grow out of this phase that hip hop was. And it was just, you know, to kind of enjoy while you're young. And then as you age, you're going to like something more just different than hip hop, like whether it's alternative or classical or whatever.
Now, of course, can I pause you for 1 second?
Sure.
For people watching, this was the thought process of hip hop, and it's the thought process that I've seen a lot of people do. I've seen a lot of people outgrow hip hop after they graduated college. They went on to become husbands and wives and people, and it's kind of like, I don't really listen anymore. We came up at a time when hip hop was the coolest fucking thing in the world. In the 80s and the 90s, there was nothing cooler than hip hop. So if you wanted to be cool, even if you didn't like hip hop, you acted like you liked hip hop. Yeah. Because who doesn't want to be cool? But once you graduate college and now you're in a business room and you're in the boardroom and you're in the classroom and you're working every day and everything like that, a lot of people who I thought were hip hop heads dipped off. It's amazing to me when I talk to people and I'll be like, Griselda. They'd be like, who's that? And I'm like, God damn, like you really don't, like you really have lost touch of everything. Like I don't expect you to have every Conway album, but damn, if I say Griselda, I feel like, dog, we used to talk hip hop every day. And they're like, yeah, nigga, that was in 1995. Like it's 2023. So it's funny that you talk about that, Porsche, because I want people watching who are younger to understand that was the thought process with hip hop. It was not supposed to be around for 50 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and there are a lot of people who did love the culture who did actually outgrow hip hop. But I'm sorry, Pete, keep going.
No, it's all good. So I was at my cousin's house, and she was the first person, and I love this cousin. No hard feelings, but I remember we were listening to. She had a CD case, those CD binders. So like 30 pages, four per side. And then 30 pages of those. So like 8 per page times 30. So she had this whole big binder full of CDs, and I'm looking through and I want to listen to the Illadelph Half-Life CD. So we put that on, and I'm just surrounded by this. Like I just love everything about it. We didn't skip anything. And I remember when that album ended, she goes to me and she goes, yeah, well, enjoy it because you're going to outgrow hip hop. And I was like, no. I'm not. I can't. I won't. Like, I know that. I know the feeling. And she was like, okay, well, you can she gave me her whole entire hip hop binder that day. And I swear to you, it was probably like, if I was going to value that, it was probably like $2,000 worth of more, maybe even more, like maybe $3,000-$4,000 worth of CDs in there. And I still have it to this day. Exactly the way it was when she gave it to me. Never rearranged anything, just kept it. And it was the Illadelph CD. So every time I look at that CD, and as much as I love it, that's a 5-mic album. Every time I look at it, I kind of wince because I remember hearing for the first time, hip hop is a phase and you're going to outgrow hip hop. And I never did. And I still haven't. So yeah, that one.
That's dope. I will take that and do a quick plug for me and Rel and Gadget's cheesesteak review show, Illadelph Steak Life.
Yes, I love it.
Yay. Premiere episode should be dropping this month, and it's basically where 3 Philly boys go around tasting cheesesteaks, and we break down cheesesteaks the same way we break down hip-hop. So a lot of times people on YouTube from other cities, they come to Philly, they taste it, they're kind of like, they have no idea what to rate it on. I compare it to somebody who doesn't like hip-hop listening to Bean CD and reviewing it. It's kind of like, but you don't know shit about hip-hop. So why are you even reviewing it? So when some random person comes from out of town to Philly to go to D'Alessandro's, and then you don't even know, one dude even said, I don't even know how to rate this. Then why the fuck are you rating it? How about that right there? If you don't know how to rate it, don't rate it. So it's giving you the perspective. And like I said, we break it down the same way we break down hip hop. We're breaking down all the pieces of what makes a great cheesesteak. And what's going to be even dope is when we go to Philly and try spots we haven't tried. Because for people in Philly, for people who aren't from Philly, you got to understand your neighborhood probably has a great cheesesteak spot. So for years, me and Rel's neighborhood had Pagano's, and that was one of the top spots in the city. So there's really no reason to go anywhere else in the city if you have one of the top 5 spots in your neighborhood. So even though we're from Philly, it's probably over 100 cheesesteak spots, probably 200, 300, and probably 50 of them are probably great. And we've only probably been to about 10. So we're going to be going to Philly to do some shows. But that was just a shameless plug for that. The rest of my favorite people, Ransom, who has a new album dropping tonight, Director's Cut 4 with Nicholas
Yes,
Craven,
I can't
that
wait.
I'm looking forward to tonight. Rock Marcy. I know a lot of people don't love Rock. I love Rock to death. One of my favorites. And then you got Conway and Benny. Ransom, the first time I heard Ransom, here's the funny part, because this is how much I rock. When I rock with you, I rock with you. And at that time, I was rocking with Joe Budden hard, like hard body. I fucked with Joe. And Joe was beefing with Ransom. So I didn't even bother to listen to Ransom for years because you was beefing with Joe. You know what I mean? Like, that's my guy. Like me and Bro talk about, we ain't really fuck with Pac because he was fucking with Big. And that was our guy. So it's like, I'm not fucking with Pac. Like, that's how deep I get into this hip hop shit. So I didn't hear Ransom until Director's Cut 3, you know, and was just blown away and had to go back to the other Director's Cuts and everything like that. Rock Marcy, I don't even remember the first time I heard Rock like that, to be honest with you. But I became a fan with Reloaded. That's when I became a fan. And with Conway, it was the BET Cypher. And it was the year they were like in a parking garage and it was black and white. And I just remember saying, what's wrong with dude's face? Like, why does his face look like that? And then I started Googling and did all the research and everything like that. And got into Reject 2, which is a 5 mic classic to me. And that was it. It's been on since then. And the same way with Benny. I don't know how I heard of Benny. It had to be through Griselda, one of the features on one of their albums. And it's been the same with Benny. Rel, you got anybody left?
No, just the obvious, the Nas's and stuff like that. We don't gotta get into that. I mean,
all right, JR, what about you?
I just got I got Gladys, Marvin, and Big, and then last one was SWV. When I saw their video right here on the first one on Video Soul, and mind you, we was in South Carolina for like a year, so. Right now in vogue is the glamorous girls. Like that's what the focus was. They were the girls and that was it. But SWV was something that I was familiar with. They were from New York. They looked like the girls that looked, you know, that was in my hood. So I related to them. And then once they came with I'm So Into You, it was done with me. I was like, love these girls. And from that point, I've been a fan from them since then. So.
All right, that's it. Eddie, anybody else left, bro? Eddie had to dip off for a minute. All right.
There he is.
Eddie, you got anything else left?
Yeah, man. Sorry, man. I'm in the freaking lounge of my building, and this light is on a freaking timer, yo.
That's all good,
That's
bro.
why it keep going dark, man. This shit is on a timer. It's supposed to be a 60-minute timer, man. That ain't the damn 60 minutes.
It's all good, bro.
Yeah. So I got two. I got two, and it's like. 2 singles that dropped in '96 that made me fans of these two groups. First one is Operation Lockdown by Helter Skelter, and the other one is Elevators by Outkast.
Nice.
And I kind of connect them two because, like, I feel like the vibes, like, you know what I mean? If you compare the two joints, like, you know what I'm talking about, like. You know, Operation Lockdown was kind of mystical. Like they had the video, like where they looking like a shaman and shit like that. You know what I mean, with the face paint, you know, and the tents and shit. And then like, you know, Elevators, right? Like I never heard anything like Elevator. Like that whole shit was like, what the hell? So both of them kind of gave me that feeling of like a whole different vibe and feeling like I never heard before. And like, yeah, I mean, Outkast, like I heard their stuff, but that was the one that was like the aha, like made me a fan. Same with Helter Skelter, and then obviously, you know, Ruck becoming Sean Price and like having that, you know, crazy run that he was on. So
that's dope. That's dope. Quick question, man. What y'all listening to this week? What y'all been listening to? Seb, what's been in your rotation this week?
Shit, man. You know, I listen to so much shit that I gotta actually look at my playlist. But I will tell you, Alex Isley is on my, is definitely on my rotation. I know that, you know, offhand for sure.
All right, no doubt. P, what you listening to?
Honestly, Vegas and Rec dropped an album today on Bandcamp, and I've been spinning that all day. And that's the one that sticks out for me because it's 4 tracks. It's quick, but it's so good. And I've been tweeting about it. Absolutely love it. It's called GMT Grown Man Time by DJ or Vegas and DJ Rec 1. So,
right. No doubt. For me, again, I never thought in a million years. Yo, in next month, I would have been podcasting for 10 years. We started Live from the Writers Bench back in July 2013, which is crazy to me. And I never thought in 10 years I would tell you an E40 album, The Element of Surprise from 1998 is in my rotation. I can't stop playing it.
Wow.
So dope.
I can't go back. I can't. And again, it's all because of Blind Spotting. If you haven't watched shows on Stars, people watch and tune in. It does an amazing job of having hip hop, because it's not about hip hop at all. The show is not about hip hop at all. It's about this shorty, her baby father gets locked up in her and her son have to go live with his family. That's what it's about. It's not about hip hop at all, but I love how they have Oakland hip hop playing. It's almost like Oakland hip hop is a character in the show. Like it's so much embedded in the show, from the dances to the cars to just everything. You know, I find myself Shazamming stuff throughout the show, and I'm like, oh shit, that's too short. Like I like Too Short. Like it's an amazing thing, but it just goes back to what Rel was talking about earlier about just being able to see different things. Claire 2 by Summer Walker. You know, one thing I commend Summer Walker for, I see that Tiana Taylor is helping her with her stage show. And I think that's so dope. JR, I don't know, I can't tell the tone of face you have right now with this, so I don't know if you like Summer Walker or not.
She's cool. She's cool. Like
cool.
I liked her still Over It, for real.
Right.
Like, but I like what you put up today, because I agree. When you realize that you need to become a better artist and you do things to do that.
Like, here's the thing, y'all. For people who don't know, she does not have a good stage show at all. You know, some people say she gets really nervous. She doesn't like the crowd. But she has hired Tiana Taylor to be her coach and kind of choreograph some things and kind of help her through it. And I think that's amazing for a younger artist to be able to see that there's a hole in her game, and for her to just not sit back and say, okay, well, I'll just go down in history, because people are still going to come see her. So for her to be like, yo, I'm going to step up my game and get help, I think that's amazing. JR, you'll love this. I have been playing Randy's Rather Be from the Color Show over and over and
Did
over.
she eat that? Yo, oh my God.
So that's what I've been banging. Rel, what you been listening to this week? Did I go to UP? I did go to you, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Rel, what you banging this week?
Been listening to a lot of Benny. Oh, Backwoods Sweetie's single. What is it? Righteous. What is the name of that song? That song is great. Righteous Name. Have you heard that?
I have not heard it yet. I've been in a bubble over here. But I already know it's crazy. You know me and her working on the album. I'm trying to get y'all two on the track together.
Oh yeah, let's do that. That song is crazy, bro. Like you gotta listen to it. I've been listening to a lot of Benny for some reason. I've listened to Burden of Proof today. You know, just in my Benny bag. So
Backwoods Sweetie is definitely dope. She's been through the studio. We're finishing up her album now. JR, what you listening to, bro?
For the past 2 days, I've been listening to Tina, man. R.I.P. to her. I just been listening to Ike and Tina, and I've been listening to her. I love Break Every Rule. That's my favorite album from her. But I just been on her and going back to when I first heard her and all that, and it's just. And she was the same age as my grandma, so it's a lot there. So it's just when I heard she passed, it was like, damn, like for real. And so I've been in that world for the past 2 days, so that's where I'm at.
All right, and Eddie, what about you?
Yo, I was actually listening to the Faith album, The First Lady. Like, I feel like that's an album like doesn't get talked a lot in her discography, yo. But I went back to it like because my wife had the CD, so I was in the car, had a long drive, popped it in. I was like, yo, this shit is dope. So I was listening to that. Grap put out the word, you know what I'm saying, Heavy D Day. So I was listening to Peaceful Journey and Blue
Nice.
Funk.
Nice.
That's what I was listening to when I found out Tina passed. That's crazy. Ugh.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Seb, where can they get at you, good brother? If they want to connect, where are you at?
Shit, well, wherever they get at me, I may not get back at them right away. So, unless they got my number, you know. But I guess Twitter, Seb is hip hop. You know, I'll probably check that a little bit more than anything else. Seb is hip hop on Twitter.
All right, that's what it is. Eddie, where can they get at you, brother?
Twitter at EddieD80, on Instagram at Freakstyles.
All right, JR, what's going on with the R&B reps and everything?
Right, the R&B reps. Our latest episode was just to be out. We talked about All I Have with A. Marie with Zoe. So we really get into that album and give it the flowers that it definitely deserves. Thanks to our last episode, Kill, I'm ready to record 2 episodes for Junior's World of Soul. So I'm recording that this weekend. And just catch us at the R&B Reps on Instagram, Twitter, JR's World of Soul on Instagram and Twitter, Naturally Elise on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, Rel, where can I get at you, brother?
Uptown Rel 215 on Instagram, JBen215 on Twitter. My album, Caught in the Moment, executive produced by Kills, coming soon. He just sent something that, he just sent something crazy, and so yeah, I'm about 95% done, but this about to be crazy. I ain't gonna let y'all down, man. Trust me.
Nice.
And a pause on that for a lot of younger artists. Rel sent me the album. I posted this earlier. Rel sent me the album. I'm like, the album's dope, but it's missing that barbershop record. And Guru was talking about, young Guru was talking about how he would be in a barbershop and niggas be like, yo, your man Jay is wise. She making songs with Rihanna and Alicia Keys. And he'd be like, yo, you gotta give me that barbershop album that, you know, just shuts everybody up when they want to talk about something else. So to me, every album needs that barbershop song. They need that song where it's just, I'm showing you that I'm nice. There's no storytelling. It ain't no, it's just bar time. It's just, this is my show off record. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel like Rel's project had that. And I literally haven't made beats since I've been back from Chicago. I kind of just make beats now whenever it calls. Like, you know, I'm not a machine like I used to be. I used to be like, I make a beat every day and every, you know, talent. I just make beats whenever. And I was watching my ends when me and you was talking, Rel. I'm like catching up on my ends. And then it was like, fuck, let me go make this record. And like halfway in, I was like, yo, this shit sound kind of fucking crazy. And it was like, yo, this nigga Rel don't kill this, man. I'm giving this to Trey. And it made me think of when Pharrell said that about the clips, because he said he made Grind and he called them like, I think what happened was Pharrell had played them some beats. They was like, nah, these beats are too soft, like you whack or whatever like that. And he made Grind. He called him like, yo, if you ain't here in 10 minutes to record this, I'm giving this shit to Jay. You know, so I actually took a piece of Grinding to put in this beat because it reminded me of that. But, you know, for all the people out there, you need that barbershop record. You need that record that just cannot be denied. So, because here's the thing. Everybody fucking rhymes. And I truly and honestly and earnestly mean every fucking body rhymes. So you got to have something that can cut through everything. So when somebody says, why should I listen to you? You can play them that barbershop record. Like, this is why you should listen. So,
and one thing that's important is having like real people on your side that's gonna be honest with you. Like, so when something ain't right, something need to be changed. Like Kill's telling me, like, yo, you gotta do this, and you gotta take that constructive criticism and, you know, come back better. You know what I'm saying? Don't take it personal. You need that. If you have people telling you your shit fire and it ain't, you know what I'm saying, then you put it out and be disappointed. So even with you, JR, I've sent you songs. You like, I like this, you probably should change this. And I appreciate that type of stuff because it's only going to make my project better. So I want to.
Yeah. And a big part of that, I always tell people, y'all know me, it's all about your goals. If you just want niggas to be on your dick, then you don't need real niggas in your life to be like, yo, that's not good or whatever. If your goal is to put out the best music you possibly can, then yeah, you definitely want some people to be like, I don't know, try it this way, you know what I mean? So it's definitely that. Looking forward to that. P, where can they get at you, sis?
on Twitter at
Before
Shayla.
y'all follow P, just know she loves love. So don't come at her with no bullshit. Like, if you ain't trying to love her, don't even bother. Like, don't do it. Don't. It's about love.
I love
That's
love.
what it's about. So if you're not in the mood, if you're not in that place in your walk to be in love, don't even hit up. Don't even
It's true.
Time nowadays. Like, don't even do it. If it don't. So just ask yourself before you at her, just think to yourself, ask yourself, do you love love? And if the answer is no, then make sure you add her. There's a whole bunch of
I
other women
do love love.
on Twitter. But so ask yourself, do you love love? And if the answer is yes, then fuck it, go. You know, shoot your shot. If you don't love love, I would probably say just fall the fuck out. You know what I mean? That's just my advice. That's my advice.
Oh my god, you're so
just fall
funny.
back.
Just don't send her any Drake lyrics. Don't send her any Drake
honestly.
Oh, please. No.
Lord. On Twitter at Shayla Porsche.
And you know, the funniest thing you said, Eddie, I am positive somebody would have tried to do it because most dudes think most women love Drake. So they'll be like, yo, I got something for her. I'm gonna get her with a Drake line.
He's so cringe.
And not even knowing that will be the quickest way to get blocked. So I'm actually glad you put that caveat. Because some dude would have been like, yo, I bet you if I say this Drake line, that's the one. And she light skinned and Drake is light skinned. You know, niggas be putting stuff together.
From Canada,
And from Canada too,
right? Yeah, you would have been like, it looks like it's the perfect thing, but let me save y'all some time and effort. It's not. It's totally opposite.
Send her Boyz II Men lyric. You good?
There you go.
Yeah, send the Boyz II Men lyric. And you already know what it is. Me with Kill 889 Twitter, IG. It's a great cheer, y'all. I'm not gonna hold y'all, man. I'm working on so many projects. I literally have to write them down. I can't even repeat them because there's so many. I'm mind blown. A week ago, I'm in Chicago in the studio with Vic Spencer, who's one of the dopest MCs in the game. A week later, I'm in the studio with Trey Lee, producing on his album, which is like 30 years in the making. So it's just been an incredible year. It's been an incredible ride. And the wonderful thing is it ain't fucking June yet. So I said last year is going to be even better year. This is what we all need to be shooting for. Hard work, boots on the ground. Let's make every year doper than the last year. Please do not be in the same place you were a year ago talking about what you want to do. Go fucking do that shit. It's easier now than ever. You know how many people say they want to start a podcast, but I don't got the right equipment? I've been doing a podcast on Google Hangout and on StreamYard with there ain't no mics in here. There ain't nothing. And just go do it. It don't got to be the perfect setup or whatever, but just go do it. I'm telling you, I think Porsche, either you or somebody posted, the scariest place to be in life is the same place you were a year. That is the scariest thing that you can do. So get up, get out, and make it happen, y'all, because it's definitely doable if you do the hard work. That's the key point. Are y'all ready for the hard work, the discipline? Because life is hard. Choose your heart, So choose your heart. All right, y'all. I will check y'all next week. It's been a great show. Later, y'all.